That's a grave right there. Oh my God. There is a grave right there. Holy smokes. Hey everybody, it's Robert coming to you with another adventure into history. Today I am in Macon County, Georgia, and I'm going to revisit a cemetery that I had come to before that I actually just made some new discoveries in. We're going to be taking a look at some really incredible headstones, a very rare type of headstone, and talking about some new discoveries out here at this old Primitive Baptist Church graveyard. So I brought you out to this cemetery many months ago because I filmed the grave of my second great-grandmother, who is buried over there, Carrie Davis. And while I was out here documenting her grave and talking about some of my own family history, I came across this old fieldstone that is actually engraved. And this is kind of the rare grave marker that I'm talking about. Many times we see fieldstones marking graves, but almost never are they actually engraved like this one is. So that makes it a very rare, very unique find. This one says Mauk died. That's M-A-U-K and D-I-D-E. April 16th. It looks like it has an O right there. 1857. So Mauk died April 16th, 1857. Now Mauk is a surname that was around here, but there were not a lot of them. I looked on census records trying to maybe track down who this person was, and there are several Mauks who lived around here back in that time period, but there weren't a lot of them. However, there's also the town of Mauk, Georgia, which isn't too terribly far away, and that was founded by people with the last name of Mauk. So I'm sure that there's some kind of family connection there. It's a really unique last name. Now, prior to today, the only other engraved fieldstone that I had seen in this area also was an engraved fieldstone for someone with the last name of Mauk. And I found it nearby within 10 miles of this cemetery. I found it with Cecil when we were out exploring and documenting cemeteries. That's over in Sumter County, just across the county line over in Sumter County. And that was another Mauk that had an engraved fieldstone. So you've got two of these people with the same last name, and they both have these really kind of rare engraved fieldstones. Really gets the mind curious as to did the same person engrave the two? I do not believe the same person engraved them because the other one is engraved differently. All of that being said, I revisited this one today and wound up finding more engraved fieldstones in this cemetery. So we're going to take a look at them now. So we have Mauk, who died in 1857, and I started looking around at other fieldstones out here just in case any more of them were engraved like that one was. And we've got, like in this one, where we've got just these fieldstones that have been thrown up against this tree. One of the things that happens to historic cemeteries, and I have seen this happen in numerous cases, is people who take care of the cemeteries, the yard cleanup crews, the landscaping people will pull up fieldstones and toss them to the side because they want to be able to get through here with their lawnmowers and not, not have to worry about all the rocks on the ground. A lot of times maybe they don't know that those are marking graves, but they'll pick up these fieldstones and throw them away. So it lessens the amount of fieldstones we have marking otherwise unmarked graves, and is definitely very damaging to the historical integrity of a cemetery. That's why it's very important anytime somebody is working on a cemetery, whether it's cleaning it up, being hired as landscaping kind of thing where you're cutting the grass and keeping the grounds pretty, to understand the historical significance of even just a rock that may seem to be in the way. That's what I've come across here today. We have this one, Mauk, over there. We've got fieldstones that have been just tossed up against this tree to get them out of the way of the ground here. And you can see the grounds are very well kept. You know, someone's cutting this with a riding mower. And over here we have another fieldstone that is planted upright like that. Now I checked to this one, no engraving on it. We see behind this fieldstone, another fieldstone there, another fieldstone there, another one there. That's a brick. No, that's fieldstone. That's a brick. Another fieldstone there. Well, it just so happens that these two fieldstones right here, they were stacked up on top of this rock back here. You can see where the dirt is. Well, the reason that I moved them, picked them back up, is because I looked a little bit closer at this one, and what do we have? Another engraved fieldstone. And these graves have never made it to find a grave. They've never really seemed to have been recorded. This fieldstone marks the grave of, it looks like Tom Clark. No dates on it, unfortunately, but we do have that name that was engraved on there. And it looks like this fieldstone, I don't know if it was naturally a triangle. I don't think it was. I think maybe it was kind of carved out like this. And it bears an engraving on there. You can see that they did a line down here, they did a line up here, and then engraved it. It's hard to know when this burial would be from, when this would have been engraved, because, you know, people could engrave fieldstones at pretty much any time, and we wouldn't be able to date it. That being said, usually I see these, they're 1840s, 1850s, that kind of thing. So you know, we could estimate that that may be a pretty early grave. That being said, if it was carved in 1910, we wouldn't know any difference. But obviously this was a free way to mark a grave, using natural rock and engraving it. By the later 1800s, we had a lot of the stamped concrete graves that we see out here, and those were an affordable way to mark graves, rather than the expensive marble. So, you know, you may get less engraved fieldstones later 1800s, as people had the cheaper alternatives of concrete, that sort of thing, to have a proper grave marker without having to carve a rock. But so if I had to guess, I would say that this would follow the 1840s, 1850s dates, but I don't know for sure. We don't know. It's not dated. So I found that one. That one was sitting on top right here. We don't know what grave that marks. It's not this one. That one's got a fieldstone right there. It's not that one. That was carried from somewhere out here on one of these now unmarked graves and tossed out of the way behind this bigger rock. It's not the only one I found. Look at this one. Bears a deep carving on it, ANC, just initials. You have no idea who that is or what grave this is supposed to mark. ANC. Doesn't appear to be any further carving. Let's see if there's anything on the back of this one too. Then there's another big fieldstone down here. This is another one that's just been tossed, tossed out of the way. You can tell from the growth on them and the dirt collected. These were tossed over here, In other words, it wasn't something just done yesterday. These have been tossed out of the way for a while. But that one probably marked a grave as well. That brick probably marked a grave. Every displaced rock you see out here probably marked a grave, including these over here, just tossed to the side. See, there's several. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 rocks tossed over here to the side. Those all would have marked graves that are now completely unmarked out here. But wait, there's more. We have these two big old brick tombs here. Now the burial is actually going to be underground, but these brick boxes are built on top of the graves. And what do we have over here? More moved out of the way fieldstone. Now, are these fieldstone pieces marking these brick graves? I don't know. I know that these brick graves are very early. This is that old plantation era brick. We can take a look at some of it real quick. I've talked about this a lot. This brick is a type of brick that was made on the local plantations, usually dates anywhere from, earliest settlement in the 1820s to about the 1860s. By the 1870s and 1880s, we typically get into more modern brick that would have been built on the brick yards This is Plantation era brick, as I call it. So we can, generally speaking, get an idea that this grave probably is, 1860s or earlier. I don't know if these go with these two box tombs here or not, but we have a carved fieldstone sitting on top of this brick vault. Now, obviously, this was just kind of tossed up on top of this brick vault. Came from somewhere else, was moved so the grass could be cut. And who just wants that old rock sitting in the way? We can see it's carved. It is engraved too. What's the date? What's the name? And is that a date down there? Or is that just more initials? Looks like, I don't know. I don't know what that one says, but hopefully we'll be able to read it in post on the video. No idea if that's gonna mark one of these burials in this brick vault or came from somewhere else. We just don't know, because it's just tossed away from where it was. Even if it had fallen over, where it was, we would at least know what grave it's marking. But let's try to get the light on there real good, so maybe I'll be able to see this. All right, another one right here. So that's a headstone, obviously. It's been carved out. Kind of got that shape. Got another one here. Look at that, another rock tossed aside. Let's move it out of the way. Get the old rocks out of the graveyard. And well, this is another Clark, isn't it? That's cool. So we got a kind of family that's doing this. Definitely last name is Clark. What's that first name? I can't read it. W-I-L, and then maybe S-O something. Hard to say. Maybe, I don't think that would be Wilson, because there's another letter in there. Y'all will have to try to read that to let me know down in the comments. And then Clark. So there we go. We've got two Clarks now. I hadn't read that one before, so we've got a family connection now where these Clarks were carving out these headstones. But wait, there's more. This is not a carved fieldstone, but this is another marker that's just kind of been tossed aside or something. This one may have actually marked one of these boxes. That's what I would expect from seeing this. This looks like an old marble insert that I've seen in these boxes before. This one is Edward W. Youngblood, died November 17th, 1845, age 25 years, 1 month, and so many days. But look at that, 1845 right there. So that's an old one right there as well. And a lot of times these kind of marble pieces like that, they'd have inserts, or they would be used as inserts on the end of these old brick boxes. So that's obviously the integrity of this one has been damaged. So that could mark one of these graves here, but how cool is that? That's an old piece of marble there. Old piece of marble. And maybe just almost forgotten. You can't see the inscription without a light. So what did we discover out here today? We already knew that engraved fieldstone was there bearing the surname of Mock. We knew that this one was here, marking a grave, an unknown grave right there. We didn't know these three were here, these three engraved fieldstones, because they were just stacked up right there. I'm gonna leave them sitting up right there, because they need to be, they don't just need to be stacked up like that. I'm gonna leave them sitting up. So we found 4 fieldstones marking graves. Well, that used to mark graves. They've been displaced from where they should be, and that is such a shame. This is not the first time I've seen this. There's another old graveyard I know of that they pulled up all the fieldstones that marked the graves out there. Just pulled them right out of the ground, tossed them to the side so they could ride lawnmowers across it and keep the grass cut. In cases like that, it'd be better just to let it grow up than destroy the marking of the graves by doing something like we've seen here today. Not necessarily putting too much blame on people. I don't want to, just be mean about it. But in the case of this, it's damaged historical integrity of knowing where these graves are. At least the rocks are still here, though, and we still are able to document this sort of thing. That being said, it's so very important. They probably didn't know, It's just rocks in a cemetery. If somebody does not know, I can understand how something like that could happen. This is an amazing discovery out here today, seeing all of these engraved fieldstones. Engraved fieldstones are so very rare. I've seen prior to this, maybe 2. And then this one being the 3rd, Mock was the 3rd, and then the other Mock was the 4th. Come back out here to revisit the Mock grave, find 4 other engraved fieldstones out here. It's amazing. Another thing is those graves are all pretty early dated, 1840s, 1850s. The other graves that I look at out here are all late 1800s. And of course early 1900s, and burials I think continue out here to relatively modern times. So those graves predate a lot of what is marked out here, which is really interesting to see. I don't know what. I think that one is 18. Let's see if we can get kind of an earliest date on one of these marble stones that's being taken care of. That's 82 there. That's in 1891. And just, I'm running through looking at the styles of them. These are stamped concrete. This is the example I was talking about of kind of the cheaper option to the marble that came along in the later 1800s. See, that's 1875. They're born 74, died 75. So that's, latter 1800s. We've got several examples of this concrete pieces. We've got 20s. I don't see anything else. Nothing else is jumping out at me as being as early as what we're seeing with these fieldstones. Yeah, see, that's 96. So really interesting. The oldest graves out here that I've seen thus far, 40s, 50s, and they're kind of just discarded. The rest of the graves are later 1800s. I'm scanning around, and I know I'm kind of rambling now, but I'm scanning around and I don't see a single marble grave out here that's as early as what we just found over there. Would like to know when this church was established too, if this may be a case of, got to dive into this history a little bit more, because this may be a case where some of this stuff actually predates the church burials. That is a guess and an assumption. So I don't know that for any kind of fact, but it's just weird that we've got this collection of 1840s, 1850s, then we suddenly jump into 80s, 70s, and 80s. It's kind of a 20, 30-year gap of marked burials out here. Now, we've got to jump into these woods real quick. And if you watched the previous video where I was out at this cemetery, you'll know that there's more abandoned, forgotten graves over in the woods. These are marble. These are same date range still. 1870, so we are getting a little bit older over here in the woods. Nope, that's 1890, so we're really not. We're staying with we're still staying with 1896. Yeah, we're still staying with what I was talking about, where that's a grave right there. Look, I didn't even notice that. Oh my God, there is a grave right there. Holy smokes, y'all. That's a grave. I'm not even slightly prepared to uncover that one today. That means I'm going to have to come back. I'm going to have to do some more research and come back. Look, there's a grave I've never noticed before right there. It's a piece of marble right there. And I wasn't planning on doing this sort of thing today, even jumping in to filming this cemetery until I found those other engraved headstones. So I'm not prepared to jump into that one, but I may have to circle back to it. Let's see if that, I bet that's another one right there. You can see that's another one right there for sure. Look, yeah, I'm gonna have to come back out here. I can feel it, see it? See it? Look at that. Didn't know that was here. I'm just finding them today. Finding graves that I didn't know were here. See it? Piece of marble right there. You can, I don't know how I missed this before, but you can kind of see the lip of the marble. Unknown grave there, unknown grave there. See, that one's got a headstone at it, but you can still see the kind of the ridge where the leaves are covering over that marble, and it's not quite as well hidden as the other two we just found. See, you can see the edge of it. But look, there, other unmarked graves. What I brought you into these woods for was not to show you that, because I didn't know they were here until just now. What I brought you into these woods for was to show you this. As far as talking about early burials, first of all, I think that this is absolutely beautiful right here. It's the way this green has grown on it, but this is more of that early plantation era brick. So what I was talking about with finding marked burials that are earlier than the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, we had the 1850 engraved Fieldstone, 1845 marble over there. Then we're guessing that those rocks are probably 40s, 50s, maybe 60s. This, because it's that old plantation era brick, like I explained earlier, I would assume would be 40s, 50s, something like that. This is just a brick wall around two otherwise unmarked graves. Another question is, why is this little section of this cemetery abandoned? No matter, it never fails. No matter what cemetery I come to, we run in to at least a little section that is abandoned, you know? It's obviously not the case everywhere, but so many times you have a nice, well-kept area, and you always at least have one or two graves that are in the woods abandoned, and here we've got a bunch. This isn't the case. Sometimes we see it where there's been an African-American section that dates back to times of enslavement, and that section has been abandoned. That's not the case here. This isn't an African-American section. This is just the same as that over there, where the burials here are primarily whites. So not that case either. Just forgotten people separated from this cemetery. So amazing discoveries today. Fieldstones. I'm going to have to come back and uncover these as soon as possible. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This was a scouting mission. I'm not dressed to be digging up dirt today. Ow. And that's not why I'm down here today, so that's why I'm not uncovering those. This was a scouting mission that turned into something incredible. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. We'll be back here as soon as possible to solve more of these mysteries. I'll see you next time.